Chapter. We're going to do a little unboxing video for the Flux Arcana. It's a deck that I've been waiting for quite some time. I'm going to turn my package over so that you guys don't have to see my name and address and stuff. Just arrived today after waiting for a long time. There it is in the box. It's a nice box. It's obviously just a standard I don't know what the name of this kind of box is where you just like pull open the top, but let's see. I always like to keep the plastic intact, so I'm not just going to rip it. I keep the plastic and I'll put a bit of tape over the plastic so that it can stay over the bottom part of the box over here, so that after I open the top, then if I just put like a ring of tape around the box holding the plastic on, it just strengthens the bottom of the box and keeps the box artwork looking pretty. Isn't that a pretty box? It's actually a much thinner deck than I was expecting. We'll see what the cardstock is like now. Okay, so let's just drag the blade in as straight a line as I can. Okay, so the Flux Arcana, here we go. Let's fold those back and fold you back. Right, and you can see there's obviously an extra flap at the back so that we can open the deck fully and grab the cards. Okay, well, nice. The cardstock is a little bit shiny. It's not too glossy though. It feels like it'll shuffle really easily. The cards themselves are pretty nice stock. The back is just beautiful, isn't it? There's 2 skulls and 2 swords and 4 eyes. And 2 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4 eyes. So that's the back of the card. As you can see, it's not too glossy, which is nice. I have very big palms and not very long fingers, so for me, shuffling decks can sometimes be a little bit tricky because I don't have the dexterity in my fingers that I would like. But the cards are pretty. They glide pretty smoothly off each other. Okay, let's have a look at the fronts. Great. Okay, and here we have number 0, the Fool. I'll put the face down over there. The Magician. Kind of macabre. The deck is very dark, but I love the ink work, and it's sort of like engraving. Let me see if I can't get that better. That's pretty. Our High Priestess with her 2 pillars and the moon. And her scroll. We're missing the curtain behind her, but we have clouds, kind of like a curtain. The Empress, wow. That's like a horse's skull or something there, isn't it? There's a heart. Her throne is pretty cool. I like the way the legs actually make the heart. You've got the corn coming behind her there. Look at the cool detail in the slightly smudgy ink work over there. I'm not sure if these are done in ink or if they are digital. Actually, I should ask the artist. He is on Instagram. If you search for the Flux Arcana, there's the name. I haven't obviously read with the deck. I don't know what the deck reads like, but the artwork is certainly pretty cool. It's really masculine emperor. Ram's head. His scepter, which is like an ankh. and a sword up there. I really like that hand-drawn. The lines aren't too perfect and straight. In a lot of digital artwork, I find that the brush strokes. I dabble in digital illustration myself, and one of my pet peeves of digital art is that the brush strokes are always too uniform. There isn't enough sort of flaw in the, or not flaw, but like there isn't enough variation in the brush strokes. So I really enjoy seeing stuff like this in the trim of his robe, where the line weight is varied. Like these lines are not perfectly straight. The Hierophant. Now I'm missing the followers in the Hierophant card over here. The Hierophant card is often about these two little followers over here. I find that the Hierophant and the Chariot and the Devil, they all have very similar imagery with this one main dominant figure and then two, sometimes more, figures below. Even Death has a similar imagery with the heads on the ground, and the tower as well, with the figures leaping and falling, plummeting from the heights. So I often read those figures, these cards like the Hierophant and the Chariot and the Devil. They have some similarities that I tend to read them as shades of the same, various shades of similar forces anyway. All right, the Lovers. Isn't that a beautiful card? I love the way that she has flesh and he's a skeleton. Whereas her fruit seems to be a little bit less enthusiastic than his. Is that mushroom, fungus, something? Very interesting, the Lovers. All right. The Chariots over here. This is interesting. The two horses are going together. At least they look like they're going to cross paths, whereas usually the Chariot has the horses pulling in two different directions. And in this Chariot, our rider actually has reins. But it seems like this hand is controlling this horse. And this hand is controlling this horse, unless I am mistaken. Actually, these cards are not very glossy at all. They've got this nice matte, very paper-like finish on the front, which is lovely. Strength. This is nice. I feel like a kind of Madonna and Child vibe going on between the lady and the lion. And she's petting him as opposed to shoving her hand down his neck, which is great. The Hermit. He's pretty. Wow. The Hermit is one of my favorite cards. I also really like this border work. Alright, here we have the world. Isn't this lovely? You've got your 4 creatures over here. The eagle is replaced by a vulture. Nice. Serpent is not going around the wheel in this case, but actually coming up from the abyss, so to speak, to devour it. And then we have our Sphinx of like rulership and authority at the top. Lovely. Justice. Another one of my favorite cards. Linked by the pillars, I feel, to the High Priestess. Nice. I'm not going to spend too much time. The Hanged Man. This is one of... I love this hand-drawn sword. It's so cool. And he's hung by a serpent, which is interesting. That's so nice. I'm going to spend a bit more time exploring the artwork in the halos. What do you call those? These like circles around the heads of the characters, because I feel like there may be some symbolism to draw from the the elements of this, like Corona, or Halo, whatever you want to call this. The Hangman is one of my favorite cards. I feel like this deck is going to be really good for doing shadow work with and reading about like parts of myself that maybe I wouldn't otherwise like to confront or see. Death, really interesting. We have the rose window sort of figure going on over here. And instead of, like, it's very much a harvesting character over here. The hand symbol is pretty interesting. Cool. Here we have Temperance. Oh good, and look, Temperance actually has wings. Dipping a foot on the land, a foot in the water. Whenever I see Temperance, I get a very strong feeling of the imagery from Revelation 10, where the angel puts one foot on the land and one foot on the sea, and then proclaim in a symbol of judging both of these things. And of course, the final outcome of that judgment is Revelation 21, where the sea is done away with, and there's like a new creation is born. And this whole idea of mixing the water is very interesting over here. Temperance, what a lovely card. Oh, the devil, here we go. This is a dark card, the whole thing's black. And we have our two figures, nice. A benediction, as above, so below, fingers going on with the eye that, in this case, I don't know if you can see that, but the eye is closed. Reminding us that often we are blind, perhaps, to the things that we allow to enslave us. It's also about, obviously, like personal empowerment. The devil himself being the very, I suppose, the image of the very first revolutionary. Launching his campaign against the Creator, according to the Judeo-Christian, actually mostly Christian symbolism. There isn't much of a devil presence in Judaic lore. It's very much an element of Christian tradition. A very fantastic book about this is actually The Origins of Satan by Dr. Eileen Pagels, I believe. Satan as a social construct. Not construct, but like a social symbol. Interesting. Okay. And the tower. Over here we have, great, we have our figure falling. I like these guys. They always remind me to put the ego down. Right? And the tower, such lovely hand-drawn lines, and I really like the white, red, and black. The color is so... It's very evocative and like uniform, very clear. All right, and here we have the star. Lovely. There's something very stark about the star. I'm not sure I get wish fulfillment from it. But the water lines are also very pretty in there. I really like this texture. All right, and here we have the moon. Such a lovely little red lobster at the bottom over there. It's interesting to me that the moon never looks happy in the moon card. We have our dogs, two people replacing the more traditional towers anyway, but I feel like that's oddly fitting. Where's the tower gone? When we consider that in the tower card, the tower actually can also represent the construction, like ego constructs that we build for ourselves, right? So this figure and these figures look like they're possibly related. That's interesting. Okay, and here we have the sun, also one of my favorite cards. Our sun, we don't really have the concept of a walled garden or safe enclosure, but we do have the figure riding a horse with his banner. The red sun replaces, well, the red banner, you know, but I think because of the limited color palette we have, obviously we're not going to get the colors. These flowers are lovely growing. It's still the idea of a garden. It's great. Oh, and here's Judgment. Oh my goodness. That's a nice skull. And these very charcoaly lines in the clouds. That's great. I find, so many digital artists, if you find decks that are digitally drawn, it's kind of one of my pet peeves. Artists tend to rely on the texture of the brushes to give you the texture of the objects that they're drawing. But that's not the case in analog art, right? In analog art, artists use whatever medium they're working with to depict the texture. And I think that in digital art, there's often the tendency of the artist to get a bit lazy and to just use a brush to show the texture rather than taking time to create the illusion of texture using color and slightly more like, I suppose, abstract illusions. So, but I like this. I like this work a lot. And look at the detail in those wings. I don't know if you can see that. Isn't that beautiful? All right, and here we are, the world. Our beautiful nude figure. With flesh, because I think that a nude skeleton is a little less appealing. But she's wrapped in her veil. And we have our 4 creatures again. And the circle of the world. And that's it for the mages.